So, what not to do with Falke? Obviously, there's countless things, and I'm not going to talk too much about things that I've already talked about in several other videos that I've already posted, such as like where to place where to space Falke and what style of play to use, and that she's not a zoning character, and that her projectiles are really terrible. High risk, low reward, are incapable of zoning anyone, and can be punished on reaction by pretty much any character in the cast. I've already talked about that. So I guess I'll just put that as number one, is don't back off and zone. In fact, I would, if you're using the air fireballs more than, like, say, I want to say 3 times in a single match, or 2 times in a single match, and you're not using it to maneuver around fireballs that are going on the ground, which you might do more consistently against, like, say, a Minot, where if you would, if the orb was coming for you and you would go over here, you would jump back like most characters would to escape the situation, but then you would put something on screen. So in those situations, you can use it more frequently, but if you're using this more than like 2 or 3 times a match against anyone else, you should probably, like, consider doing it a lot less. Similarly, this move, not something that you really want to be doing even at full screen unless you're getting a guaranteed whiff punish on something. You can compete with certain fireballs, however the fireballs that you'll be reacting to, you'll usually punish because it'll go underneath those fireballs. But then if you're doing it right when the opponent throws a fireball, like if an Akuma throws a red fireball, you'll get the hit on him, but then you'll just stand up and get hit by the red fireball, and that's significantly worse for Falke than it is for Akuma. So, you know, it's not a great tool to use in that situation either. Mainly you want to use it closer, reacting to, like, getting underneath and punishing fireballs in reaction, doing it in combos, and canceling into V-trigger. And then, so if you ever find yourself, like, trying to back away from the opponent to a range where you feel like it's safer to do this move, you should stop what you're doing immediately and stop trying to back off to do, like, a style of playing that's just infinitely less effective and more risky than anything else that you could be doing, and just start walking backwards into her optimal range and pushing the opponent. Another thing that I think people should try to avoid doing too much is if they don't have a punch button ready, it involves when you make mistakes with the punch inputs. Like, say you do a light kick and you release the gunshot, and then you start holding another one immediately. But if you, say, misspace it or something, then you either want to keep your inputs really tight so that you immediately start holding another punch button so that the move doesn't come out when it whiffs. But yeah, if you think your light kick's gonna land and it doesn't, and therefore it doesn't cancel into a move and you just lose your charge, you want to make sure that you're not accidentally then whiffing, like, big heavy buttons or something, whatever button you're then pressing to get the charge back again. And similarly, if you're being pressured, you don't want to, like, be mashing punch buttons or anything looking for a place to start charging necessarily. Having the fireball ready on hand can be useful when you're getting pressured, because you get to have that any poke into the gunshot to do some damage on a poke or create some space, which you can't really do with any of her other buttons because they won't reliably link into anything, including themselves. But they will into that, so that's a bit more. But in general, you want to also make sure that you leave your punch buttons open to have access to the all 3 punches button for your EX Schneide if you're getting pressured. And you can just sort of, like, bust out light kick a few times until you have enough space to start getting punch buttons held down safely. Another thing that I see people doing a lot is canceling every single normal that they land on hit or on block into the gunshot. Now I know gunshot has a restriction in that you have to charge it, and that usually, but that doesn't necessarily mean that if you have it charged, it's going to be better than anything else that you could do. If you land a hard punch, go for the kicks. Go for regular or EX kicks. You'll always be able to get it. Very reactable. And so yeah, there's no benefit to releasing the gunshot, especially on hard punch, which will cause the gunshot to whiff at max range. But yeah, if you're going to just stab in with medium kick and then release the gunshot, that's fine, because medium kick is significantly harder to react to, and even if you see that you're going to whiff punish the opponent anyways, you might already in your brain be committed to doing the gunshot. That's fine. But heavy punch into gunshot, there's no reason to do this unless you're activating trigger. So, instead, the only actual reason that you would do this is when you're walking forwards. There's a gap in Falke's pressure between where standing medium kick will actually link, so that you can pressure with that. So if you walk into that range, you can just hit that and get a counter hit or whatever. Or you can hit like a sequence of buttons that will combo on counter hit. Or you can just do, because any of other buttons are not necessarily plus on block, or you can always just check with light kick into Kugel. Or you can pretty frequently check just moving in and doing hard punch at almost any range, because at almost any range it'll beat 3-framers or short ranged 4-frame buttons that they might be poking out with, because of its really good personal hurt box on startup. So but it is -3 on block, so if you're doing it like really close up, like about here, you might want to release it into the Kugel just to build a little more meter, do some chip damage, and create a little bit more space. It'll still be -3 afterwards, but you'll be a bit farther away, so you can confirm into that on block. Whereas on hit, you always want to be making sure you're confirming it into that and not going for the gunshots. Once again, another thing that I've already talked about a lot, but don't be whiffing that, don't be whiffing that, don't be whiffing that. Those are bad moves to just throw out in neutral. You especially don't want to throw out these two normals. This one, well, they're all really bad to throw out. They all have tons of recovery. They all have really bad personal hurt boxes because you can hit the edge of the staff. But you can throw this one out because it has so much more range. But these ones they're not good to do unless you're within range that they will hit. You only want to do hard punch at this range or closer. That's the only situation where you ever want to do standing hard punch. And it's really good at that range, but you don't want to do it from further away. And it's not just because like you're dealing with a much better hurt box if you're doing it close up as opposed to if you're letting it whiff. It's like this move will stop people, catch people like trying to jump or things like that. It has absolutely no ability to anti-air anything at this range, and it leaves her open for a really long time. I've seen this get like people that happen to jump whenever she's just throwing this out, getting full jump-in combos and stuff. You know, people just getting killed all over the place by trying to swing this out and buffer into stuff. Same goes for crushing medium punch, although it's slightly not as terrible for doing that, but in the same way, you just really want to be making sure you're in range to poke with it. And second to last, less people are doing this now, but there are some people that are still sort of misusing or wasting a lot of the V-trigger one-shots. Now you can blow through them really quickly, doing stuff like legit pressure. But, and you know, it's hard to say that, like, it's a waste. But there are some things that are definitely wasteful. And one of the biggest ones, and once again, I've already mentioned this very briefly in one of my other videos, but there's no reason to do a jumping normal, like a jumping heavy punch. There's almost no reason to do a jumping heavy punch just into the Jaeger, especially if you're not punishing anything. If you think that your opponent's probably just gonna block, you're already plus on block. There's no need to spend the bullet to use the Jaeger. You can already just walk up and throw. The only difference is that you get enough plus frames to do like a down forward hard kick, but not after walking forwards. Just an immediate down forward hard kick as he's getting pushed away by the bullet. You know, it's not a great thing to do. If you get the hit, it's fine. Like you'll get a bit more damage. Mainly, you'll just get more stun at the start of your combo. But yeah, it's kind of a waste if the opponent is very likely going to just block. And it leaves you open to get V-reversaled. Now, the benefits of doing this off of jumping normals is doing it off of a max range jumping medium punch, after which you're only plus a certain amount and you're not quite in range to. You're not close enough to necessarily walk up and throw, but you can if you hit a pretty low Jaeger at the right angle. Usually off of medium punch, which you can hit it far enough that it'll cause the ground bounce. Then you can be plus enough to get a forward dash into a significant amount of plus frames. And that way you can get in from a farther jump in. Or off of jumping light punch, I talked in one of my other videos about a mix-up that you can do between jumping light punch throw or jumping light punch Jaeger, which is legitimate. But yeah, there's really not much reason to just do it like that. And a lot of people often just sort of like shoot the shots off at random, not really to much benefit, or tend to spend a lot of shots on the first when you first combo into V-trigger, or you cancel a combo into V-trigger. You can spend several of your gunshots, and a lot of people tend to do that, like so. But all you're doing by spending more gunshots in most combos is just getting yourself doing the more damage and stun of landing more hits and getting a worse knockdown. But if you're comboing off of activation like that, you'll immediately get worse scaling for both damage and stun. So that would normally do that would normally do 251, but just doing it after activating, yeah, you get 251, whereas doing this into doing the exact same thing, you get just 257. So the 90 damage of the first hit just becomes like an additional 7 damage. The scaling's really bad, and the larger your combo you're doing, the worse that scaling's gonna be. So it's better to just do whichever gunshot, do no gunshots, or do whichever gunshot is going to give you the best Oki, which is why I prefer to do my combos into V-skill, activate, and then take my 2 forward dashes. And in addition to scaling off of activation combos, if you're just doing more bullets, like I said, you're usually just going to be getting a worse knockdown. So I usually just go for, if I get the confirm off of that, I just do the one gunshot, the one low gunshot for the knockdown, and then take my safe jump on the normal recover. Or just, you know, make a hard read or on the back recover and do some sort of other Oki option like double forward dashing. So that's pretty much it. The vast majority of this video and the rest of this video will probably be about the last thing that I see people doing, which is weird because it's not really that big of a deal. Like, so a lot of people, like I've even seen like Justin Wong plays Falke. He's been playing a lot of Falke, and he but even he has a tendency to rely on the bad projectiles at certain times in his play. But for the most part, he knows about the strengths of the heavy punches and stuff like that. But he often does heavy punch into low gunshot. Against most characters, this is not real at all. Now, the benefit of doing this, of course, well, there are very few on block. You can do it on block, and the benefit is that after they block it, especially at this range or farther, it's going to be pretty good on block for Falke. It's going to be 0. I was sure that it could be +1 at least. There we go. Yeah. So you can space it out. You can just do it like this. The frame disadvantage is not that bad on block, and it will combo on hit. But the benefit to doing this is very small. Like I said, it sort of goes back to the same thing of don't cancel heavy punch into gunshot. Like if you're landing the hit, go into something that's going to do some damage and actually get a knockdown. But one, you know, foreseeable advantage of doing this is well, reading a backdash, because anything, if you're reading it, they're going to backdash after they block something. You can cancel whatever button you're going to do into Kanonen, and it will catch them backdashing and knock them down. Another thing is activating V-trigger, which at about this range, Falke will be +28, allowing the forward dash into a medium kick. Especially since hard punch will not link into gunshot Kugel at all at that range. And you know, like it has other benefits, like I guess, or not really very much benefits. You're only landing like the small damage of that. You can't really combo off that outside of V-trigger 2 afterwards. But you know, whatever. Like, but anyways, that's a thing that I want to demonstrate that you can do in certain situations, although the benefit is not really that great in the first place. But I want to point out that this is not real. This action, hard punch into low gunshot, is not a real thing. And, you know, for the most part, I want to make videos on this channel to help the Falke players do better, but this will also be a good video for people telling them that, yo, this isn't real. You can take advantage of that. And now I'll be demonstrating how.
Not hesitate.
So, going through these nerds one by one, first I need to demonstrate how it works in the first place. So I'm having Falke do the hard punch into Kanonen, and then blocking, specifically walking backwards. So, first I should explain that there is a 3-frame gap between hard punch and Kanonen actually canceling. And so Ryu's 3-framer, unfortunately for Ryu at least, she's too low to the ground and will low profile that, so it won't hit her. But any of his other buttons, his 4-frame buttons, are capable of trading with the projectile. Now the trade will usually be in Falke's favor, however outside of the corner I don't think... actually no, it's plus 14, she can combo off that with the forward hard punch. That being said, you can still punish this with anything, you know, with more priority or projectile invincibility, light punch DP, heavy punch DP, which has projectile invincibility, EX DP, which is fully invincible, obviously. And even if you are getting hit by this move, it's only plus 4 on hit for Falke, even at point blank. Unless she's in the corner, she won't be getting any combos off that, because the actual hit pushes you too far away. I mean, unless she's canceling into V-trigger, which is probably what she's going to be looking for doing anyways, since that is one of the primary uses of why you would even do this in the first place, is canceling into V-trigger 1. Because I should also mention that on block at that range, or at a just regular standing heavy punch range, if you can't do the Kanonen and then cancel into V-trigger 1, even on block, that's plus 21 for Falke, so that's a full forward dash into being plus 1. So that's mainly the reason why you would do it, is in a practical sense, is activating a trigger. Like I said, hard punch you usually want to just be looking to hit confirm into the catapult or EX catapult. But anyways, yeah, so most characters can just punish this if it's on point blank. It is very easy to react to this happening, because she, especially when canceled off of heavy punch, because she goes down on the ground. And you can just see that and then punish it if you're looking for it. It's really easy. But another thing is that any further away... See, point blank, that was a forward jump, but if I neutral jump or back jump, I'll still get hit on the ground. But a lot of characters with regularly timed jumps and normal jump startup are capable of forward jumping in this situation. And really any further away that they are, especially at the range where Falke will probably be doing this, most characters can forward jump. The only character I'm aware of that cannot forward jump at any distance that they block the hard punch into this is Abigail. Abigail will never be able to get off the ground before the projectile hits him. Now, fortunately for Falke, no character, well, I shouldn't say no character, but characters who forward jump will not be able to punish this before she's able to block in time. But Falke will not be able to anti-air them, for the most part, as I will demonstrate. So that was me beating out her normal anti-air in regular Schneide. And damage. So the regular Schneide will just lose. The EX Schneide is too slow, as really is the regular Schneide, and I can press a button while coming down and still block in time and get a grounded punish. However, Falke is capable of anti-airing when she has super. So, that, as a Falke player, that's probably the only time that I would ever recommend actually going for this. Because, unless, like, you just rarely ever use it and the opponent isn't looking for it. Because, like I said, it's very easy to just react to her canceling the hard punch into the Kanonen, and then just do something afterwards, like a forward jump. So unless you have super, you won't be able to anti-air that, and you'll just have to eat the opponent's pressure afterwards. So really, you should only do this when you have super, so that you can pretty much force them to block it, unless they have another punish that they can do instead. Which I spent like 3 hours figuring out what are all the punishes that all the characters can get on this, which is kind of a waste of time considering like that this isn't really a great thing for her to have in the first place. But whatever, it's tech. This will also beat neutral jumps, and the opponents can back jump just fine. So, now let's get into character-specific punishes that characters can get on Heavy Punch into Kanonen. So, like I said, no character will be able to just get a forward jump into a button as a punish. It'll beat all their anti-airs except for super, and it's what they should be going for most often if they see the Falke player cancel into Kanonen, unless they're close enough to just punish with their 3-framer or anything else that will win. And the move is just -3 on blocking in the first place, so. But for Ryu, yeah, Ryu is one of 3 characters that has no punish to this move, actually. Because none of his Shoryukens will reach. And even his super, because the move low-profile projectiles, Falke will just go underneath the super and won't get hit by it, no matter how you time it. So, Ryu gets nothing. He also doesn't get a B-Trigger 2. Because he won't be close enough for the parry to actually connect. So, Ryu, nada. Chunners gets super. And by the way, like I said, it's very easy to react to this. Like, as soon as you block the hard punch, you can just buffer in like the 2 quarter circles forward. And then as soon as you see her like anywhere near the ground, it's so easy to just press the kick button and then just do the super. So no problem at all to punish that. So like I already said, the Falke players should only be going for this, really, like if you think you're, well, obviously if your opponent doesn't know that it's either punishable or gives the opponents a free jump in for pressure, then you can go for it all day. But if your opponent does know, then you should only be going for it when you have super so that you can anti-air them, and when they don't have the resources or capability to punish you, legitimately punish you, like another way. So Armika gets EX Peach on reaction. Everything that you can punish with, you can do on reaction. It's super easy. So she gets EX Peach and the single hit of v3.5 1. No way for her to combo off that. Rashid is one of the characters that can get a meterless punish, so pretty much you can never, ever, ever do this to Rashid. He can do a forward jump into the medium kick eagle spike, or whatever the aerial version is called. And as long as he does it fast enough, it'll be a legit punish. In addition, he also gets the EX one, regular EX, eagle spike, super, and depending on the range that you block this from, you can get different strengths of the regular eagle spike. At about that close, you won't get an eagle spike, but from this way. From about this range, you'll get light eagle spike. From farther, you'll get medium. So yeah. And it's interesting to note that if you do this point blank, you won't be able to punish with EX eagle spike, because it'll go over her head. So if you're this close, punish with EX whirlwind or EX spinning mixer instead. Alex.
You can't.
Akuma. From really far away, max distance, you can get medium kick Tatsu. You can get an instant air fireball. Not a great punish, but it is meterless. Not. Falke. Sakura. Ed. Jury. Ibuki. Laura. This one's not really legitimate, but you can use the B trigger 2 to dodge the Kanonen. The only problem with doing this is that you can, so if you just let it go, you won't recover in time to be able to punish with anything. You'll be very minus. However, if you cancel it into one of the other things, like the B skill forward, you'll be pretty much zero. Laura has 3 framers, so she can challenge in that situation. She can be plus in that situation, or like so. And even though it's not legitimate, she can also, if the opponent's respecting her ability to do that, go for super heavy damaging command grab that she gets in B trigger 2. Geef gets B trigger 2 really. He has trouble even jumping over the fireball, even at the ranges that most characters can jump over it. And he won't be able to lariat through it unless he's pretty close. But he can just flex on it for a little bit better frame advantage. Karen. Nash. Ken. So for some reason, Ken's EX Shoryu gets stuffed by Kanonen. If you're a little closer and you do the EX Shoryu a little later, it'll usually go by fine, unless you're like really far away, in which case it doesn't matter, it'll always lose. Heavy Shoryuken is usually more reliable, except at like, so at this range it's fine, at this range and further it's fine, well until it whiffs. Yeah, like that, but at this range it's fine. But at this range, sorry, this range, it'll hit once and then keep going, and Falke will not be caught up in the rest of the Shoryuken, and he'll just whiff it. Cammy. Bigger. Nikali. Guile. Best girl. Zeku. Blanca. Abigail. Urian. So Urian actually doesn't get Aegis because he won't be able to combo off of it. Balrog. Fong gets nothing. Dawson can technically punish this, but for for practical purposes, he gets nothing. At most, you can set up a float. But yeah, you can technically punish with jumping medium kick and jumping light punch. And if you're fairly close. Birdie. And Bison gets nothing. So those are my my observations for things that I see Falke players doing that I would recommend them to stop doing as soon as possible. The thing with the hard punch into Kanonen is not really that common, and it's not really that, like, you don't need to rely on doing that in the first place very much, but if you want to keep that tool in your arsenal just for that, v3 confirm really, or say that corner combo. Yeah, so if you want to keep that in your arsenal and whatever, and check with standing hard punch, not always for linking into EX catapults, but if you're in V-Trigger 2, looking for that in the corner, or in V-Trigger 1, doing that into activation, which will be plus on block. Yeah, if you want to keep those things, then be mindful of the fact that the opponent only do it when you have super. So you can anti-air opponents who just jump clean over it. And beware of, you know, characters who can punish it in other methods with less amounts of, who can just outright punish this rather than just taking their pressure with a jump in. And other than that, yeah, everything else I mentioned about things not to do, like that, all this. Yeah. I hope that helps, and just everybody keep refining how they're playing Falke and getting better and winning more matches. And I'll be coming up with some more tech soon.